family, welcome back to another video reaction, and today we are moving on with another oversimplified reaction. So the last time we reacted to, I said we, I'm talking to myself, I reacted to World War One oversimplified. So now I'm reacting to World War Two oversimplified. And I have to say, of all the history videos I've seen on their channel, I would say this one is the one that I understand a bit, mostly because I've read lots of World War II videos. And did I just say I've read World War II videos? I've read lots of World War II books. But that's the thing, even in all the books you read, there are always like information that you haven't seen somewhere before. So I'm guessing there will be lots of things that I probably haven't read about, or I probably haven't seen in movies. So I can't say 100%. I would probably, I don't know. I don't want to put any percentage on it, but let's just see the ones that I will probably remember and the ones that I won't remember. So altogether, I'm hoping to learn something new from this video about World War II. So let's check this out. It has lots of views on Oversimplified, so I'm guessing it's a popular video. And I can say it's longer than World War One. World War One was roughly 8 minutes, and this one is roughly 15 minutes. So probably lots of information in this. So without further ado, let's get into this video.
This video was made possible by Skillshare. Churchill was a man with many talents. He was an artist, a butterfly enthusiast, and he had an unpublished manuscript about aliens. Clearly, he was a man with an insatiable thirst for knowledge. Maybe he could have loaded up his computer and logged onto Skillshare, an online learning community with more than 19,000 classes in design, business, technology, and more. Perhaps he was considering a side career in fashion, but didn't know where to start. On Skillshare, he would find courses in fashion design and garment construction. Or if he wanted to learn app design, improve his photography,
that's a whole ad.
How to make a really good quesadilla, he would have found courses for all of
so
these
guys,
and
please,
more on
if you
Skillshare.
haven't
Skillshare
seen the
original
video on Oversimplified, on this particular video, please go to Oversimplified's channel, and you can check out the video first, then come back here and finish the reaction. So I'm going to put the link of this video on my description. So if you haven't seen it, just check the link in my description. And let's continue.
I work heavily with animation, and I was genuinely blown away by the number of really useful courses available to me. Like this class full of tips and tricks for creating vector art, or this one for creating character walk cycles. For an annual subscription, Skillshare is under $10 a month. And if you'd like to try it out first, then I've got a deal just for Oversimplified viewers. The first 1,000 people to use this link, which can be found in the description, will get their first 2 months of Skillshare for just 99 cents. Be sure to try it out using the link in the description and learn something new today. Now, without further ado, it's 1902. A young man by the name of Benito Mussolini moves from Italy to Switzerland to avoid military service. He gets big into socialism, working for trade unions, writing for socialist newspapers, advocating a violent overthrow of European monarchies, the whole shebang. This gets him in a bit of trouble with the Swiss police.
I don't know much about Mussolini, just the fact that he influenced Hitler's idea of government and with fascism and things like that. I don't know much about his life at all, so hopefully I learn a bit about that here.
So he gets arrested, sent back to Italy, set free, returns to Switzerland, is arrested again, goes back to Italy again, completes his military service after previously avoiding it, and then after a brief stint as an elementary school teacher, he finally returns to work as an avid socialist. His speech...
Why is he just writing on the wall? Like, why is he just scribbling? Why did they make him scribble on the wall?
His journalistic abilities made him famous among Italian socialists. He was anti-war, so when Italy colonized Libya in 1910, he rioted and got arrested. Then World War I came along, and once again he protested Italy's involvement. But then he thought...
Wait, did he say when Italy colonized Libya, he rioted? Oh, he's even carrying a no war sign. Wait a minute. It's so funny because this guy supported Hitler, who kind of like was trying to, I wouldn't say colonize, trying to invade everywhere, but he said here that in his earlier life he didn't even want Italy going into other countries. I I wonder what made him change.
Wait a minute, this war could bring about the social climate needed to overthrow European monarchies and bring about the socialist revolution everywhere.
Oh,
and suddenly
okay.
he was pro-war, but his fellow socialists
was against the
pro-war
monarchies.
stance, so they kicked him out of the party. So then he said, you know what, I'm done with socialism. We need something new, not based on class divisions tearing us apart, but based on unity through nationality. We'll conquer the
new government
and reunite all Italian people, just like the days of the Roman Empire. I'll call it fascismo, and it will guide the Italian nation to greatness.
I'm sorry that I'm pausing this video. Please forgive me. I don't want to talk too much over the video because I don't want to miss important details. I'm surprised. Everyone calls it fascism, but I'm guessing since it's Italian, they probably called it fascismo, and I've never heard that variant before. We all just kind of call it fascism. Okay, let's not talk too much. Let's get back to the video.
That's all well and good, Mr. Mussolini, but what kind of haircut am I giving you? Let's go with bold.
I didn't expect that. Ooh. Yeah, I think all his pictures he was always bald-headed. But why do you have to make him look like that?
And they hoped they were going to get a lot out of it, but in the end they only got a little, and they felt cheated. On top of that, a bad economy and weak governments meant that the Italian people were a little unhappy. So when Mussolini came along and said that he could fix everything, his fascist movement gained a lot of support. In 1922, he went to the king and said, make me prime minister or I'll make me prime minister. And the king said,
to the
you
king?
What army? This army.
Oh.
Fair enough. Then he went about establishing a dictatorship with himself at its center. Europe had its
Why
first
does he have a vein popping out of his head?
Germany had been on the loser's side, and they got absolutely wrecked by the Treaty of Versailles.
I saw that in the World War I video.
Had to demilitarize the Rhineland, had to reduce their army to just 100,000 men, couldn't have an air force, had to pay the Allies a huge amount of money that it didn't have, and a new rule was established that every Englishman withheld the right to walk into the center of Berlin, pick out any German they wanted, and spank the hell out of them. I made that last one up, but it helps you understand how all this felt to Germans. On top of that, a bad economy and weak governments meant that when a small angry man with a silly mustache came along and said that he could fix everything, the German people loved it. Hitler had been a soldier during World War I, and he was crazy patriotic, and nobody was madder than him about Germany's humiliation. He helped start a new political party.
The anger.
In 1923, attended a march on Munich with his boys. And then he got arrested. But his popularity grew, and in 1933, the president made him chancellor. He believed he was Germany's great destined savior, and he went full make
What's up with all these
establishing
pictures?
a dictatorship with himself at its center. Europe had fascist dictator number 2. Hitler and Mussolini had a lot of the same ideas, but more importantly, they had the same enemies. And they started to get along in a dictatorship with himself at its center. Europe had fascist dictator number 2. Hitler and Mussolini had a lot of the same...
Okay. Hitler, National Socialism, Italian Fascism. Okay, for Hitler, Radical Nationalism, they both had that. Totalitarianism, they both had that. Violence and militarism, they both had that too. I didn't even know Mussolini's government was that violent, so this is something new. Anti-democratic, obviously they are dictators. Anti-socialist, okay. Extremely racist, yes, for Hitler. Quite racist. Is there really any difference between quite racist and extremely racist? Okay. I'm guessing there are a few reasons why Mussolini is quite racist and not extreme like Hitler. Okay, let's press on.
Ideas, but more importantly, they had the same enemies, and they started to get along. Anyone else want to be friends? Franco? No? You good? I do. Who's that? It's Japan, and they've taken over northern China. Let's rewind a bit.
Wasn't Japan on the Allied side in World War I?
For over 200 years, until the Americans showed up and said, you're going to trade with us and you're going to like it. Then the Western powers imposed a bunch of unequal treaties, meaning Japan's economy was bust. They also had no natural resources, so they decided to go get some. They went to war with China, gained a sphere of influence over Korea, and they took a bunch of China's stuff. But then the West said, hey, cut that out. And since Japan couldn't take on the West, they said, okay, I guess we'll just go home. Wait a minute, what are you doing? Taking advantage of a weakened China and setting up spheres of influence. But
the West, you chased them out just now, cut that out, and then when they leave, you go there and take a bunch of their things. So basically you were just chasing them away so you could get the things that they wanted in the first place. Okay, And probably that's why Japan got angry also and switched sides, because I know in World War One they were kind of like on the um, Allied side. Okay.
Who's the one who weakened them? We know. And you guys didn't let me have anything. We know. That seems unfair. We don't think so. Okay, see ya. So Japan thought, screw this, and went to war with Russia, and stunned everyone by actually winning. Then they fully annexed Korea, but they didn't stop there.
I'm sorry for pausing it this much, but did wait, did I'm trying to remember if I saw Japan winning Russia in the World War One video. I think I skipped this part of history. I never knew Japan went to war with Russia, and they actually won. Wow, that's like small versus mighty.
World War One, they took Germany's colonies and islands in Asia, and then in an incident that was maybe staged by the Japanese army, a bomb blew up a Japanese train in Manchuria, giving them an excuse to launch an invasion and take over. So here's the situation. Nazi Germany, Fascist Italy, and Japan all believe they're racially superior, all feel hostility towards the Allies, and all want to militarize and take over more stuff. And so they did. Let's start with Germany.
So the main problem was with the Allies, okay?
In complete violation.
Not the Allies, like the main problem was that they weren't satisfied with how the Allies treated them. Germany, we know the problem with Germany. Japan, we know the problem with Japan. Okay. And Italy also, they wanted land and they weren't given all the land that they wanted. Okay, everybody has chosen their reasons for fighting.
The treaty. The first Luftwaffe squadrons were set up, conscription was introduced, and he pimped up his army. The Allies did nothing. Then Hitler sent his army back into the demilitarized Rhineland, giving orders to immediately retreat if the Allies showed up. The Allies did nothing. With his military re-strengthened, he could now move on to step 2.
Why were they doing nothing?
Rapidly increase the Aryan population, and to do so, he needed Lebensraum.
All the time that he was militarizing, getting, I don't know, bulking up his army, why didn't they do anything then?
Strategy called Appeasement, and it went a little something like this. Hitler would say, I want that thing. And the Allies would say, you can't have that thing. Okay, you can have that thing, but no more. I want that thing. And repeat. In 1938,
they could have just done something at this point. Instead of leaving him and trying to talk things with him. You don't negotiate with people who terrorize, or you don't negotiate with evil.
Hang on, this meeting is about my territory. Shouldn't I come to the meeting too? Anyway, we're gonna give you what you want. Really? Yeah. Just like that? Yep. What's the catch? Just sign this piece of paper promising you won't invade the rest of Czechoslovakia.
I will be chill. Why are you giving him what he wants? Like, this is it. I think this was probably the decisive part. It was at this part they could have let him know, no, you won't do this, instead of making him sign appeasement or appeasement. What was it? Instead of you telling him not to promise to do something. Wow. What's Mussolini doing here? With his vein popping out.
Okay. Then Chamberlain returned home victorious, waving his signed piece of paper in the air, declaring crisis to be averted and the continuation of world peace. And we built a statue of Chamberlain in his honor, and every day on the third
this didn't happen, right?
Hitler's invading the rest of Czechoslovakia. What? He's invading the rest of Czechoslovakia. Oh.
See?
You lied to me. What do you expect? I'm Hitler. Not to be outdone,
See?
Mussolini also wanted to get in on the action. He thought to himself, isn't there a not yet colonized nation somewhere which is so underdeveloped that the people would be defending themselves against our tanks with literal bows and arrows and wooden spears? Oh,
bows and arrows?
Fantastic. And so he took it. Italy also wanted to control the entrance to the Adriatic Sea, so they occupied Albania. Then, in another incident which was maybe staged by the Japanese, gunfire was exchanged by Japanese.
They always say probably when they say maybe. Oh, they always write probably.
Another invasion against China. They swept through Beijing and Shanghai, and then advanced through the Yangtze Valley to China's then capital, Nanking. It was here that saw the worst of Japan's
China's former capital was Nanking.
The Chinese people. Back in Europe, Germany and Italy made
Never
their
knew this.
relationship status official by signing the Pact of Steel. Then, Hitler turned his eyes towards Poland and the hated Polish corridor, splitting Germany in two. At this point, the Allies really had to put their foot down, and they warned him that an invasion of Poland would mean war. Hitler had planned to continue his advance eastward, but he didn't want to end up fighting a war on two fronts. So for now, he made an alliance with Stalin, saying, "How about we both invade Poland and split it between the two of us, and I definitely won't not refrain from not betraying you sometime in the future."
Wait.
Up fighting a war on two fronts. So for now, he made
How did they write this?
Saying, "How about we both invade Poland and split it between the two of us, and I definitely won't not refrain from not betraying you sometime in the future."
And I definitely won't not refrain from not betraying you in the future. I won't not refrain, and I won't stop myself from not betraying you. That's just saying I will betray you. This is a funny way to write it, considering that, you know, we know how this turned out, but this is just funny to read.
Sounds
terrible.
Good. This new line stung.
He couldn't even see what it meant.
1st of September 1939, German troops entered Poland, and Britain and France declared war on Germany. The Poles fought hard, but they were no match for the two giants crashing down on them from either side. Then came a period known as the Phony War, where everyone just sort of sat around not doing much. The French had launched a small invasion into the Saarland, but they maintained mostly defensive positions, and after a while decided to just turn around and call it a day. Speaking of France, the French were still super proud of their victory in World War I, and they hadn't really moved on from it. They still used horses, they dispatched messages by motorbike instead of using radio, orders from the commander-in-chief were usually pretty vague, and the troops were rarely inspected.
Drills and
they built a line of defenses along their German border, but
they didn't seem ready for this.
The channel, and they wouldn't launch artillery strikes against Germany out of fear of being retaliated against. In a war, they didn't want to attack the enemy, and at first the UK wasn't.
They didn't want to even attack the enemy.
The war could be ended diplomatically. Instead of bombing raids, the RAF dropped propaganda leaflets over German cities, which one air marshal said likely did nothing but provide the continent with toilet paper for the duration of the war. They also only sent 200,000 men to France, while the French had mobilized millions. Both Britain and France wanted to avoid a repeat of the First World War, and so they wanted to keep the war as far from home as possible.
See. They didn't want much bloodshed. Like in the First World War.
Exporting iron ore to Germany through neutral Norway. So the Allies asked them if they could please stop exporting iron ore to Germany, but this request was refused. Then the Soviet Union North.
Wait, what was that?
Norway. Neutral Sweden was exporting iron ore to Germany through neutral Norway. So the Allies asked them if they could please stop exporting iron ore to Germany, but this request was.
Who writes this stuff? Like these the people in this channel, like they're so, I don't know, like who comes up with this? This is like a group chat. The lads UK created the group. Hey, could you please stop exporting iron ore to Germany? That's from UK. New phone. Who this? Sweden. New phone. Who this? Norway. This is just funny.
Refused. Then the Soviet Union attacked Finland. So the Allies said, "How about we land troops in Norway and move them across Sweden to go help out your good pal Finland, and along the way maybe take control of all your influence." But Norway and Sweden still said no. So the UK mined the waters around Norway to force any transport ships into international waters, and they also attacked a German tanker they found in the area. Hitler realized what the Allies were up to,
and he quickly moved to secure his supply of iron ore. He launched an invasion through Denmark into Norway. The Allies rushed to land troops at key ports along the coast, but Germany had taken control of Norway's airfield, and their air superiority decided the fight.
The Allies had to retreat. After this slightly embarrassing failure, Chamberlain resigned and was replaced with Winston Churchill, who had a slightly different approach to dealing with the Germans. Hitler's overall strategy was similar to Germany's First World War strategy. Attack France,
I think this is the peace sign,
process,
right?
And turn on the Soviet Union and win the war. During the Phony War, the Allies had given Hitler time to prepare his forces. Now he was ready to attack.
Now he's ready. Another message. Hey man, could you let our armies in? That's France. Hell no, I ain't doing this again. That's Belgium. You used to be cool. You used to be cool.
In a move that surprised pretty much no one, Hitler launched an invasion to get around France's defenses. The Allies charged into Belgium at full speed to meet the German invasion head-on, and it looked like a repeat of the First World War was coming. But this time, Hitler had a trick up his sleeve. Blitzkrieg. As the Germans advanced, they sent thousands of refugees westward, slowing down the Allies. Then, to the south, the French had left the Ardennes, an area full of hills and forests, pretty underdefended because they thought it was naturally impenetrable. Well, the Germans were about to penetrate it with everything they had. They smashed 50 Wehrmacht divisions through and encircled the Allied armies at lightning speed. The best of the Allied forces were now
kind of
surrounded them on all sides, taking out France's best armies and nearly wiping out the British too. But they managed to make a desperate last-minute escape at Dunkirk, with British civilian ships even making the perilous journey to bring their young men home. With most of the French forces depleted, the Germans breezed through, taking Paris, and France fell. What the Germans couldn't do in World War I, Hitler had done just like that. Hitler hoped that with the fall of France, the UK would also lose hope and sue for peace. But quite annoyingly, it didn't.
Never
surrender. To secure the Western Front, so he tried to force them into submission with mind games. The UK were now all alone, and Hitler wanted to emphasize that. First of all, just before France fell, Italy finally declared war on the Allies, making the UK's situation even worse. Next, instead of just occupying all of France, Hitler occupied the coastal areas for defense, but allowed France to continue its existence as a German puppet state. This way, it looked like the UK's old ally had decided to switch sides. Hitler also hoped that the UK wouldn't attack any of her old allies' navy bases or colonies in Africa, giving Hitler an extra line of defense to the south. But the UK made sure to respond to this by sailing down to France's navy base in Algeria and wrecking a bunch of ships. So have at it. Hitler then began laying down plans for an invasion of Great Britain. Before German troops could land on British soil, he would first need air and naval superiority across the Channel. Waves of German bombers came, while the completely outnumbered RAF worked bravely around the clock in an attempt to quell the German attacks. At first, the Luftwaffe targeted British ports and coastal facilities. Then it attacked RAF bases, crippling the RAF's ability to defend the nation. And it looked like Hitler's great British
didn't still surrender.
Then, Churchill ordered a small, pretty insignificant bombing raid over Berlin. It didn't do much damage, but Hitler was furious, and he immediately ordered the Luftwaffe to refocus its attacks on civilian targets in London. Children were sent off to the countryside, away from their parents to avoid danger, and frequent trips to air raid shelters became a daily occurrence. But British morale held firm. Smiling, knitting, lounging casually, these people have balls of steel. This refocusing on London also gave the RAF breathing space to reorganize. So
these people were still chill. Listen to this.
But British morale held firm. Smiling, knitting, lounging casually, these people have balls of steel. Like,
you are being bombed, and look at this man, just like, well, when they get tired, they'll stop bombing. You know, we've seen this before. It's Germany. Like, look at them. If it was my country, as people would panic and start praying. These guys are just chilling. I think there was a woman knitting, waiting for the bomb raid to end or whatever.
This refocusing on London also gave the RAF breathing space to reorganize, so Hitler kind of shot himself in the foot there. Just the foot for now. Finally, the Luftwaffe sent one massive all-out attack on London, but the RAF successfully repelled it, destroying many of the German aircraft and placing air superiority firmly in British hands. Hitler's invasion had to be postponed, but the bombing of British cities continued for some time.
Wow. They said children had to be sent to the away to the countryside, I think. Wow. It's crazy. I don't know. I keep thinking, like, I keep imagining myself or people that I love living in a period like that. Imagine me or you living in that period, and there's like bombs being thrown or being dropped where you live. Like, you're not even how will I put it, you don't even have to be a political minded person. Like, bombs can just be thrown into your homes because of what a few people in government, a few people in power decide. Like, imagine me dying for something I don't even know about. There's no, I don't know, there's no way you can get around it. There's no way you can gain an advantage. You could just move here, run here, and you would still get bombed. And I think the UK was spared an invasion, because I know the countries that were closer to Germany were the ones that really suffered the most, especially those that were not really on Germany's side. Like, imagine if your country is right close to Germany, and it's not like you can move your country elsewhere or whatever like that. Wow, this is a nice video. It's a bit longer than the first video, but it's nice. I like the way he explains it. I like the way he explained the problem with France and why. I think he said France had an even bigger army than the British, and they still couldn't get things done on time because they were, what was it, they were still maybe happy about their victory in war. Okay, they still hadn't gotten over their victory in World War One. So I don't know. There wasn't this urgency. As a matter of fact, there wasn't really much urgency from all this. I don't know, all this, even Britain at first. I think it was when Churchill came into the picture that everything changed, and as we all know, he decided to fight fire with fire. Anyway, great video, guys. Thank you for staying with me this long. Please like this video, comment on other videos that you want me to react to, and subscribe. Please subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. So take care, guys. Bye.